Well, good evening and welcome back to another episode of Cozy Old School Runescape Lore. Really enjoyed yesterday's, the last episode where we explored the Varrock sewers and the Edgeville dungeon to find the ambient lore that we could find, and I'm just feeling like going back there. I don't think this will be any formal lore in this episode again. I think this will be kind of more like a bonus round. Because what I want to do, because last time when we went down into the Varrock sewers, we found that there are dead trees down there, and there's an axe. And I just looked it up, and apparently the level 24 zombies in the room with the ladder also drop a tinderbox. So I'm thinking that's enough for us to go back and to try a little bit of like a survival camp out. A YouTube channel I really appreciate is Steve Wallace's channel, Camping with Steve, where Steve will go and do like urban camping, kind of just all sorts of different unique places to go camping. Just kind of an expedition sometimes right in the city, in unique places like roundabouts, maybe construction sites, culverts, all sorts of unique places. And so I think I want to do a cozy camping episode down in the Varrock sewers and the Edgeville dungeon. Maybe we'll get there. I want to see how long I can make a go of it underground with coming in with no items. I think maybe I'll come back when my inventory is full of interesting things to talk about, and I just want to see how long we can last down there, what we can find out and discover by going back again. So I have no items in my inventory, no items equipped. It's just me going down back to the Varrock sewer, running around the south edge of the Varrock castle, and running up to the hole that will take us down into the dungeon, into the sewers. Almost there. Okay, here it is. Opening the cover, and I'm climbing down the ladder, and our adventure begins. First, I think I'm going to attack this giant rat again and get some of its raw rat meat, because when we get a tinderbox and some logs, we will be able to cook it and make some food to heal up if we need to. But that rat didn't drop anything at all, so I'm fighting another one to see if it has anything this time. Yes, we got bones and raw rat meat, so I'm going to bury those bones, but I'm going to hold on to the raw rat meat. And last time we were down here, there was a whole section right at the beginning that we didn't even look at. To the west, there's a little alcove with nothing in it other than some rats, and then to the north, we find ourselves on the other side of there's a corpse in one of these alcoves. We find ourselves on the other side of this underground, of a different underground creek than the one I mentioned last time. There's also an interesting hallway with 3 corpses. They look like skeletons in it, and then like a grate with some water at the very end of the hallway. So very sewery. And then above each of these corpses are more red slashes on the wall that look like the bear's claw marks in the jail cell that we climbed up the ladder toward. And then there's a sewer pipe I can search, and it says I can't reach that. I just can't reach it. Well, why is it searchable if I can't reach it? That's really annoying. Okay, so there's a sewer pipe I can't reach, and then on the other side of this creek, there's our level 24 zombies in the room with the ladder that we need to get to so we can get a tinderbox, so we can make some fires. there was also a body rune and a mind rune, so if we find any elemental runes, then we would also be able to cast spells down here. Use some magic. So I'm running back the way we went last time, past the zombie that was carrying some coins. Up to another kind of dead end. Yes, this is where the scorpions were. And then I'm going to run around to the east and then the north so we can loop around to where those zombies are so we can get ourselves a tinderbox. Past the torture rack. Here are the skeletons with helmets and shields. I'm going to see if I can get another one of those iron daggers like I got last time, because that would be helpful. Oh, and we need it to get past that spider web if we want to get past the spider web to get the axe. So we actually need, this is important, we need to hunt for that weapon. And this time it was just 2 coins and some bones. I won't have much use for coins during this expedition, but I do want to pick them up when I see them to see what we can, just to see how much money we collect down here during our expedition. Just finding loose change. I'm running through a couple doors to try to get to the zombies, and here we are at them. I am going to pick up the body rune and the mind rune. I'll probably pick up those when they respawn. And now we're going to grind out, hopefully, a tinderbox from these zombies. I have no idea what the drop rate is, but between these zombies and... oh, there's a skeleton just in the room next to us, so that's good. They're close to each other, so we should hopefully be able to get the iron dagger and the tinderbox just by going back and forth between these rooms. Okay, the zombie dropped fishing bait and bones. I don't think I can get a fishing rod down here, and I don't think there's any fishing spots down here, but I'm picking up the bait for now because you never know. It's at least interesting. Now these zombies are holding a very interesting axe, but it's not the zombie axe item, which is a particular and nice single-handed crush weapon. These zombies are holding a unique... oh, yes, there's a water rune. These zombies are holding a unique kind of hatchet, but like the head of the hatchet has like a cutout in the middle. It's really unique looking. So let's see, now that I have water, body, and mind runes, I can't cast any combat spells yet, but I can cast monster inspect. So let's cast that on the zombie. There's my eye of inspection, and I see the zombie's stats. They're combat level 24, 30 hit points, 19 attack, 16 defense, 21 strength, magic 1, ranged 1. Their aggressive stats are attack speed 5, attack bonus 5, strength bonus 7, defensive stats stab 9, slash 8, crush 12, magic 10, light ranged 11, standard ranged 11, heavy ranged 11. And the information, other attributes say, is a slayer monster, and it has a 50% fire weakness. So if we are able to cast fire runes down here, or cast fire spells, then the zombies would be extra weak to that. Okay, I'm gonna go and try to work over one of these skeletons again. Hopefully get that dagger. So I will get back with you when I have a dagger and a tinderbox. Well, actually, this is interesting. One of the zombies just dropped a grimy pteromin, which is a herb, and I can clean it to just make it into a pteromin, and I'm going to look at the herb lore guide to see which potion these make. Oh, potions. Pteromin. You could make pteromin tar with a pteromin herb. What else can you make with a pteromin? Is that it? No way. Oh, okay, here. You can make 2 potions that I can see so far with them. You can make a strength potion, if you can get a limport root, which I could get from hobgoblins once we make it past the spider web that we have to slash. So we can make a strength potion, and then serum 207 with pteromin and ashes. So maybe we'll make that just for the fun of it, but we can't actually use it down here because I think that's specifically for another quest. Maybe they inated the Myarchy quest or something. But that would be really cool to make a strength potion from scratch down here. Okay, but I want to comment on how zombies drop herbs. So I wonder if in their life as villagers in Varrock above the sewers here, if some of these zombies were maybe farmers, or if they just were carrying around these plant leaves. Are these zombies former herblorists? Are they farmers? Are they former herblorists? Why would they be carrying around a pteromin? It's an interesting one. I'll think about that and I'll let you know if I have any other ideas. I found another herb dropped by a zombie. This time it is a grimy guam leaf. So I'm going to clean that to get us a regular guam leaf, and let's look at the guide for what you can make with those. So in the herb lore guide in the game, potions, guam. You can make guam tar. And the basic potion, maybe even the only potion you can make just from a guam leaf, is attack potion. And you need an Eye of Newt, and I have no idea if you can get Eyes of Newt down here. You know, if I find anything else that's interesting. Yes, I got the tinderbox from the zombie. So our plan to be able to cook food down here if we need it is half complete. Well, maybe a third complete, because we also... half complete, because once we get the dagger from the zombie, or from the skeleton, then we can slash the web and get the axe and chop a tree and then use the tinderbox on the tree to make a fire and cook the food on the fire. So half complete. We need one more item before we can proceed with the cooking portion of our adventure. Make some food for dinner probably, but we got the tinderbox now. It's pretty great. Okay, I'm going to go work on the skeletons until I get the dagger, but first I'm going to cast Monster Examine on a skeleton. Here's my Eye of Examining, and it says skeleton stats: combat level 25, hit points 17, attack 24, defense 24, strength 24, magic 1, ranged 1. Aggressive stats: attack speed 4, attack bonus 15, strength bonus 14, defensive stats: stab 9, slash 11, crush -2, magic 1, light ranged 4, standard ranged 4, heavy ranged 4, and 35% earth weakness. Okay, so the zombies were weak to fire spells, and the skeletons are weak to earth spells. Zombies, fire, skeletons, earth. Okay, and the only other thing under other attributes is this is also a Slayer monster. So I'm gonna grind out for that dagger, hopefully, and I'll let you know what I find. Okay, this is really interesting. I got a drop of an iron medium helmet from a skeleton, so that is our first equipable item that we found down here, and our first piece of armor, which should hopefully help us take less damage. I'm already down 10 hit points down here, so that will be helpful for not taking as much damage. Oh, check it out. We just got a drop of an iron sword from a skeleton. So I'm going to go over to the spider web and see if we can slash it with an iron sword. And there we go. I slashed the web apart. So we are home free to explore the rest of the dungeon now. If I really need it, there's a knife, as we found in the last episode, just over there. But I am here for the axe. Oh, awesome. There's 5 earth runes on the ground. And last time we also found these red spider's eggs, but I don't remember if there's anything you can make. Oh, you need a Haralander and red spider's eggs, and then you can make a stat restore potion. And if you have a snapdragon, which I think would never happen down here, I think those are kind of rare, but you could make a super restore potion with snapdragon and red spider's eggs. Okay, so another herblore ingredient that we found. I think they don't stack, so I'm probably not going to pick them up, but if we ever need them, we could grab those. But for now, I'm going to get this axe that's down here. And we have 3 pieces of iron equipment: an iron axe, an iron sword, and an iron medium helmet. This is going great. So now I can chop a tree, and I can cook some dinner. Cook some dinner for myself while... Oh, those earth runes respawn really fast. And now I can cast new spells. I can cast Confuse, which reduces my opponent's attack by 5%. I can cast Weaken, which reduces my opponent's strength by 5%. And I can cast Curse, which reduces my opponent's defense by 5%. So they take... all of those take body runes, and then water and earth runes. So we just expanded our arsenal of magic we can use down here, and I'm going to go back, slash the web apart, get some more, pick up the drop of mind and body rune that's in the previous room again. I keep coming back here because they only drop one at a time. So if I want to do anything with them at some point, I need to just keep picking them up so I have a nice collection. And then I'm going to go back to the east through 2 doors, and there's the dead tree we can chop to get some logs. And it's kind of cozy in this corner. There's this bed that the examine text says technically a bed, but I'm going to go behind the tree and make myself a little fire in the corner here. And now I can cook the raw rat meat on the fire. I cooked it successfully. I can eat it. It restores 3 hit points. And so it's dinner time. We made it down here with 0 supplies, and we're already fixing ourselves a nice tasty dinner of rat meat. Restored my hit points. I think things are going very well down here. Very well. Oh, I just realized that making potions would be, unless there's both a drop of a vial, a glass vial, and also a water source that we can fill the vial with, it wouldn't be possible to make any potions down here. And I'm not confident that those things are available here, but it'd be nice if they were. Be really nice if they were. It'd be really cool to make a potion on our camping trip. Okay, picking up more earth runes. Now let's just explore a little further and see what else we can find down here. Some more coins. Were there more rats over here? No, they're further back in the dungeon, so I'm gonna skip on the rats for now. Well, let's take out a moss giant and see if we get anything good before maybe we go back into the Edgeville portion of the dungeon. That would be nice. What will this moss giant give us this time? Well, it's just collapsed, and it gives us big bones and 2 coins. I'm going to chop down this dead tree right here to get another set of logs, and then I'm going to go back to the room that has the knife so I can pick up the knife, and I'll make these logs into just a basic short bow. And I don't think I'll be able to string it down here, but it'll be kind of cool to have a short bow. And when I come back, I think I'll kill another moss giant, see if they drop some arrows. Because because if they do, then we would have arrows to go with our bow. Even if we can't fire them out of our bow, it'd be nice to just have that set completed. So I'm going to use the knife on the logs and I can fletch arrow shafts, javelin shafts, short bow, long bow, or a crossbow stock, but I'm going to do the short bow. And now we have a short bow. That's pretty good. I'm going to put everything that I craft, or fletch or make myself at the bottom of my inventory, and the things that I pick up on the top, because that'll just help me maybe in the review, phase at the end of the episode. Then we can just see which things we got as drops, which things we made ourselves down here from scratch. Okay, another moss giant gone. Will they drop arrows? They didn't drop anything. Okay, let's take another one out. I'm just gonna work on these moss giants until I get some arrows, then we can move on. Oh, interesting, we got a steel bar from the last moss giant we killed. And I don't think there's any anvil down here. I don't think there's a hammer, but if there was, we could craft things with it. I'll let you know if I find anything else interesting. Okay, I found a wild blood seed. So maybe just like the hill giants that we met in the last episode, maybe the moss giants are also carrying seeds from another land. I don't know if they really live down here or if they're from somewhere else, but they are carrying the seeds of a wild blood plant. I just chopped the log and climbed through the obstacle pipe into the Edgeville dungeon because I have less than a quarter of my hit points left, and I need to find some rats and cook some more food on a fire so I can get my health back up. But I'm looking up really quick, wild blood seeds. What are they? Okay, so they can be planted in a hops patch to yield wild blood hops. And you can brew them to make a drink. Yeah, all the hops are for brewing. So this is the seed of a hops plant. I wonder if moss giants enjoy the Slayer's Respite drink. That would be pretty interesting. And I've been thinking more about this steel bar that the moss giant dropped, and I can't think of any maybe this is one of those cases where it's not that sensible, the lore reasons for a moss giant to drop a steel bar, because some of the drops have made a lot of sense. Like last time we talked about how zombies dropping coins, they could be carrying pocket change from their previous life above the surface as villagers, citizens. But I expect in these episodes where we're just exploring drop tables to find some things that are really nonsensical or seem nonsensical, and I'm excited about that because it either means, well, it means maybe one of three things. It might mean that it's just kind of like a plot hole, right, which I think is interesting, where it's just like video games are like monsters drop things. And I always wonder, like, how are they carrying that? Like, where are they carrying that? How did they get it? Why are they carrying it? And so I think sometimes it's kind of funny when enemies in video games drop things after they die, and it doesn't make a lot of sense on its face. But I just got a random event, the Frog Princess random event, so I'm going to talk to this frog. The frog says, "Don't talk to me, speak to the Frog Princess." So I'm going to talk to this frog wearing a crown, and she says, "Please help me. I was transformed into a frog by a well-meaning but sadly frog-obsessed old wizard. Only your touch can turn me back. Will you help me?" And I am going to say, "Sure, I'll touch you." And I do that, and the frog turns into a princess, but is still named Frog Princess, but looks like a human now. Thank you so much, Drifter Ray. I must return to my fairy tale kingdom, but take this as a reward. You can exchange it at the Varrock clothes store for a costume. And I got one frog token. I already have some in the bank, but that is interesting that because of random events, you could get other things down here that aren't just drops from enemies or lying on the ground. And so now I have a frog token that I got still from scratch on this camping trip underground. Pretty nice. I'm going to run further to the west while I keep talking about this iron bar. Okay, so the first possibility for these drop table explanations is that it's just kind of video game hand waving and doesn't really make literal sense. But I like talking about it like it makes literal sense. Because the second possibility is that what if, even though it doesn't seem like it makes literal sense, it really does. And it expands our understanding of what this game's lore is by looking at the literal material remnants left behind after monsters living in this world. And then the third possibility is that I just lack imagination maybe sometimes. And so I'm hoping that these episodes kind of help paint a more cohesive picture of the world of Old School Runescape by thinking at another layer about the possible reasonings and ideas behind these drop tables. Whether or not it's intentional on the part of the developers, there maybe are ideas that they suggest or manifest just by the fact of being there. So that's this kind of ambient lore that I talk about, that I started talking about last time. So, but thinking about it for the Moss Giant dropping a steel bar, I don't know where they would carry it. Maybe they have it stuffed in their pants? You know, like in action movies, people will like put a gun like in the small of their back, in the back of their pants. It's like maybe that's a good space for a Moss Giant to store a steel bar too. But then there's the question of how they got a steel bar in the first place. Did they, in their time on the surface before they came down here, which is an assumption of mine that even happened, but saying that happened, did they meet and trade with other civilizations, other species? Did they trade to get a steel bar in exchange for something that they had? Something that a Moss Giant would have? And if so, why? Why would a Moss Giant, if that's the case, why would a Moss Giant want a steel bar? What are they going to do with a steel bar? Especially if, I don't know if their drop table has, well, it has arrows, so that adds another layer of intrigue to the arrows question. Maybe they didn't just pick up arrows from adventurers like I talked about last episode. Maybe they can also make arrows using a steel bar to make arrow tips. Maybe these Moss Giants are Fletchers and they know how to make arrows. Or maybe they have armor or weapons on their drop table too, and maybe they could craft these steel bars into those things, or smith them into those things. Either way, it's interesting to think about the possibilities for why a Moss Giant would have a steel bar, and what it means for who they are and what they can do. So, the steel bar, I don't know. I don't know why, but I know that it's there. I know that the Moss Giants can drop a steel bar, and now I have one found on this camping trip. I'm going to go now to the northeast, and there is a Slayer Master down here that we passed by last time, but let's talk to Vanica this time, and see if maybe there's any lore we can find out, or anything we can get. Vanica says, "Hello, and what are you after then?" I'm going to say, "Have you any rewards for me or anything to trade? I have quite a few rewards you can earn and a wide variety of Slayer equipment for sale." I'm going to look at the rewards first. I have 164 Slayer points, and I don't think I'm saving up to be able to craft a Slayer mask, and that takes 400 points, and so I don't really want to spend my points on other things. But it would be cool. And you can buy Slayer rings broad bolts, broad arrows, herb sack. Oh, I didn't know you could get the herb sack using Slayer points. That's really cool. Okay, so the herb sack is maybe attainable if I train Slayer enough, which I don't really like to do, so it's too bad. But I'm going to talk to Vanica again, and I'm going to right-click and say Trade. And now there's the shop with items that you can buy for coins, and I have 245 coins. What could we buy down here? We could get a spear, a shield, the Slayer's staff. I'm looking to see if there's anything that could be useful for us during our camping trip. I don't think so. I don't think so. Probably the most useful thing could be the leaf-bladed spear, but I'm going to examine that. A spear with a leaf-shaped point. Well, that's probably why it's called that, but it doesn't tell me what I can use it for. I don't know if that's just like a generic weapon. I don't train Slayer very much, as you can probably tell, and I've probably said before. But, so I don't know a lot about the skill or all the things that go with it, so I don't know if I could use that as a generic weapon down here. There's also an unlit bug lantern. It costs 130 coins. A lantern to aid attacking harpy bugs. So a lot of these items are specific to certain Slayer monsters. And that one doesn't seem generally useful. But maybe... Oh, wow. The Slayer shield, or the mirror shield, costs 5,000 coins, and I only have 245, so we're going to leave it there for now. There is a bronze arrow just sitting on the ground here that I'm going to take, because I think it is a spawn, like I think the item just spawned in, and I don't think it's a drop from someone else, like from someone... Oh, and there's 3 more bronze arrows, so we finally have some arrows to go next to our short bow that we made. And this is something else that I'm really interested in about video games, is spawning. This idea that entities like enemies, monsters, or items just show up in the world. They're not there, and all of a sudden they just quantumly appear, which, from what I've heard of quantum physics, is possible for kind of anything to just maybe phase into existence. It's just incredibly unlikely and probably will never happen. But I wonder if that is how... I wonder if the physics of these worlds are different than ours, because you see, I've never really understood spawning in a literal way before. I'm killing some rats for rat meat so I can heal up some of my health. I've always thought that spawning is a little bit of maybe a plot hole, just like a mechanism that doesn't really make much literal sense. But what if the physics of this world means that the probability of things just phasing into existence randomly is not only because a lot of spawns are predictable, like these rats in this room just keep spawning after I kill them. What if the physics of this world means it's not just possible for things to phase into existence, not just likely for things to phase into existence, but actually predictable, that it's actually part of the rules of the world that these things do phase into existence quantumly and in a repeatable, predictable way. Now that's interesting, to me at least. It's one explanation, the only one I can think of for now, that might help us understand why these things happen. Why there's just some arrows on the ground. Why there's just these monsters that show up randomly, but not randomly. Kind of random, because there's specific tile that they spawn on maybe changes, but they're within these constraints in the same room. Speaking of things spawning, I did see that there is a brass necklace, the one we saw last time that we talked about, and this discussion of spawning gets me thinking that, yeah, last time I was getting intrigued by the fact that that's next to hobgoblins and whether hobgoblins value brass jewelry. And with this discussion of spawning, it's possible that it's just there. It's just not related to the hobgoblins. It just happens to always exist right next to them. The same spawning philosophy would apply to things like the runes we've been picking up. Now, interestingly, there's a bunch of red spider eggs on the ground. If we apply this quantum spawning perspective hypothesis, we could say that it just happens that these red spider eggs show up on the ground next to the spiders, but I think in that case it makes more sense that these are things that are dropped by the spiders, that they're showing up on the ground not because there's a quantum tunnel that is channeling them into existence out of nothing, but that maybe the spiders just lay the eggs there. But I did get to the brass necklace spawn, and so I'm going to wear that, and our equipment is now an iron medium helm, a brass necklace, and iron sword. Well, the brass necklace spawned back in again really fast. I'm going to kill a hobgoblin, because we haven't done that today. Let's see what they drop. And then I think I'm going to kill a hill giant again, see what they drop this time, and then maybe trek back to where I can find some more dead trees to get logs from, so we can make this. I picked up 4 raw rat meat from the rats I was killing earlier. Pick up, I got the limpwort root. So if we had a vial, we could make, I got a limpwort root from the hobgoblins, so if we had a vial full of water, we could make a strength potion with the pteromin and the limpwort root. Wow. It would be really cool to find out if you can camp down here and make potions if anything drops. Oh, I might as well pick up this brass key spawn that we found last time. It would be really interesting to see if any of these drop tables include vials of water, because if so, then you could camp down here and make potions without any outlay of resources at the start of the expedition. Okay, I'm attacking a hill giant now. Still working on it. And it's gone, and it is dropping grimy dwarf weed. That is the most valuable thing we found since we came down here. So that's another herb. So not only do the moss giants, I guess we got the other herbs from zombies. Not only do the zombies carry herbs with them, the hill giants carry herbs too. So maybe from wherever they came from, this hill giant was a farmer. Maybe they got it at a hill giant grocery store. But it's dwarf weed. And so the thing I was thinking earlier when I was talking about the fact that the moss giant has a steel bar, maybe they got it by trading with another species on the surface, maybe the giants and the dwarves have some kind of trade relationship, and that's where you get the steel bar from, because dwarves are classically mining people. And then this is a dwarf weed, which I assume is related to dwarf society. That's why it's called that. Maybe this is something that dwarves grow in their society, and maybe, like the moss giant, the hill giant traded something that they have for a dwarf weed. Interesting, but why would they want it? Why would they want a dwarf weed? It also makes me think this possible connection between moss giants and hill giants, between these giants and dwarves, could give another explanation for why they're underground. Perhaps these two societies influenced each other, had cultural exchange. Oh, there's a fire right here by these hobgoblins. I don't even need to cut down a tree because there's a fire right here that I can cook on. So that's good to know. If you come down here and you didn't get the axe, you can just use this permanent fire that these hobgoblins have in their corner. Okay, so I cooked 4 raw rat meat and I'm going to eat them. But I was saying, perhaps there was cultural exchange between dwarves and giants, and the giants became comfortable with living underground, even if maybe that's not where their kind originated from. Maybe it's something that they got used to and at least comfortable enough to hang out down here as long as they do. And that could be an explanation for why there's giants underground, because the dwarves classically live underground. So that's the theory I'm going to go with for now. This is my lore hypothesis based on the drop tables of the hill giants and the moss giants, is that, well, I'm going to pick up one of these red spider eggs. I'm coming back to the west, by the way. But that's my hypothesis, explanation for why the hill giants and the moss giants are down here. They may have been involved in trading with dwarves for a long time, and in the process found themselves underground to meet up with dwarves, and maybe they even came to like underground places eventually. I don't really think any of the giants live above ground. I hope the ceilings are tall enough for them not to bump their heads. But perhaps they grew to appreciate underground environments in their relatings and dealings with dwarves. Of course, it's also possible that I've just been stereotyping giants as not underground peoples, and that they have always lived underground. Which would be interesting, but that's not my hypothesis. My hypothesis is that hill giants are named hill giants because they live on top of hills, or in hills, but I think maybe more likely on top of hills. And that these giants, especially since they're tall, aren't underground people. Didn't start out as underground people, but went underground through their trade relationship with dwarves who have always been underground people. And that is the reason why we can find them down here in the sewers. That's my hypothesis. And speaking of which, as I wrap up that thought, I have been running back to the ladder to the hole where we first came down in the sewers, and I think it's time to wrap up this camping trip for now and head back to the Grand Exchange and take a look at everything that we found before we say goodbye for now. So I am almost back to the Grand Exchange, and here's what we got. We got the equipment we're wearing: iron medium helmet, brass necklace, iron sword, iron axe. Now this is the inventory equipment. Iron axe, 9 water runes, 13 body runes, 13 mind runes, a knife, 30 earth runes, a tarromin, a guam leaf, a dwarf weed, a steel bar, 245 coins, a tinderbox, a wild blood seed, logs, a frog token, a bronze arrow, red spider's eggs, a brass key, limpwort root, 28 fishing bait, and the only thing we made down there ourselves, other than the food that we ate already, this unstrung short bow that we did not find any bowstring for and then thus could not do any archery underground. I think that's a pretty good haul. That is a pretty good haul for our camping trip. That included meal times and remarks on more of the ambient lore of Old School Runescape. That is a total of 24 items that we found underground. I really enjoyed that. Well, I hope you enjoyed it too. I know, like the last episode, this one was a little different. Again, not really very formal lore. But to those of you who may still be listening, I'm going to say thank you so much for tuning in and joining me for this episode of Cozy Old School RuneScape Lore. I hope you have such a wonderful evening and that you sleep so well tonight. Good night.